What's up guys, Joey here. I'm a historian by profession and wrote a PhD on the Knights Templar, and today we're gonna talk about the Knights Templar and a curse. Good to have you. Welcome to Medieval. So, Jacques de Molay, the last Grandmaster of the Knights Templar, was burned at the stake in Paris in 1340. Shortly before the flames took his life, he is said to have pronounced a curse, according to which the two responsible for his death, Pope Clement V and the French King Philip IV, would die within a year and 1 day themselves. And guess what? Both of them actually died within the following year. Yeah, well, okay, so today let's go in search of the origins of this so-called curse. We're going to look at two different versions of this story and finally find out how this really unbelievably stubborn story of the Templar curse could come about and last basically up until today. So where does the story of the curse come from? The first report in which Jacques de Molay, shortly before his death at the stake, curses his two henchmen and predicts their death comes from a guy named Paolo Emili. Almost all modern reports about this Templar curse refer to him. How do we know that? Well, because he is the earliest source that fully contains all the elements that are typically mentioned in this story, namely Jacques de Molay as the protagonist, an extensive speech at the stake, and a curse with an exact period of time. This Paolo guy was an Italian historian who devoted himself to the deeds of the French rulers in his work De Rebus Gestis Francorum. But the problem with his account is when he compiled his work and put the story of the Templar curse together, the Templars had already been dissolved for a good 230 years. Well, that's hardly a trustworthy source for us, is it? So the question now is whether the story did not exist much earlier, for example, among the contemporaries of the Templars. Ready for a deep dive into medieval sources? Interestingly, the question is not so super easy to answer, of course, because the burning of Jacques de Molay was not so very widely reported. However, two reports by actual contemporaries of the Templars do exist, and one of the authors was apparently even an eyewitness of the burnings. Geoffroy de Paris, in his Chronique métrique de Philippe le Bel, dealt with the events surrounding the Order of the Templars and specifically with the burnings of its members. Interestingly, according to both contemporary sources, Jacques de Molay indeed is reported to have held sort of a speech in which he, stressed the orthodoxy of the Order of the Templars and the groundlessness of the accusations made against it. He also added that he as a Grandmaster deserved to die because he had allowed himself to be persuaded through torture and the Pope's coaxing to falsely claim that parts of these accusations brought forth against the Order were true. Those who have falsely accused the Order will receive their just punishment. So he concludes. Now, this reference to the just punishment here at the very end could perhaps be a hint at something like revenge or cursing or something, right? If you want to read it that way, but we're still pretty far away from a fully developed prophecy with an exact time when death will occur and so on. So what does it mean now? The eyewitness of the execution knows nothing about a curse. So where does the story come from? Did Paolo Emili just let his creativity run wild here and invent a curse? Well, the following is interesting now. The thing with the curse is not completely taken out of the air, because there is at least a third, completely different account that is worth mentioning. This third text comes from an Italian chronicler named Ferreto de Ferretis and was probably written in 1330. So he's relatively close to the events of 1314, when the actual burning took place. This account tells the story of an unnamed Templar who presents himself to the Pope in order to appeal his death sentence at the stake. And the account reads the following: "The true and living God bear witness to your unjust sentence." So, he refers to the Pope here, obviously. "Within a year and a day, you, together with Philip, who is jointly responsible for this, will have to come before him, answer my objection, and present your own defense." Okay, so here it is, right? This might be the actual source of the curse or prediction or whatever you want to call it. It includes the exact time frame of 1 year and 1 day that we have previously heard about. It includes the Templars. It just does not mention the last Grandmaster and his burning. Wait, so does that mean there actually was a curse? A real Templar curse? Well, now you don't have to be a historian to still sort of doubt this curse, right? Why is that? Well, the author Ferreto de Ferretis, who told us the story about this curse, wrote his text at least 16 years after the events. So he already knew that this prediction or curse he put in the mouth of the unknown Templar had definitely come true. He just knew it because, well, it had already taken place, right? And now you decide, like, does a curse still count as a curse if one already knows that the desired results have occurred? I don't know, man. In any case, it seems apparent now how the story of this Templar curse by Jacques de Molay came into existence, right? It is basically a combination of two different stories from around the time of the dissolution of the Order of the Templars. In story 1, handed down by an eyewitness, we have Jacques de Molay as protagonist, who shortly before his burning addresses words to the bystanders. We do not see a curse in this statement here yet. The second story, the other story, talks about an unnamed Templar who actually is reported to have pronounced a curse that the Pope and the French king would die in the course of the next year. This story, however, was written down after the predicted events actually happened. If we now, merge these two stories, we get the story of Jacques de Molay, who on the stake shortly before his death prophesies the death of the Pope and the king within a year and a day. At the latest, in the middle of the 16th century, this process of merging the two stories is completed in any case, because Paolo Emili, mentioned in the beginning, just tells us about it in 1548. Quite exciting, isn't it? So calm down, everyone. No Templar curse, just a very, very interesting and appealing story. Thank you so much for watching, guys. See you next time.